Hey folks, this is Mary. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Swatching Sundays. And if you have some samples that you need to swatch, feel free to swatch along with me. And I have my rack of samples right here. I am swatching my old samples, the samples that I first bought when I got into fountain pens. I have a box I've been collecting of my new samples. Those are the ones that I've bought probably in the past year or so. But these racks of my older samples, I think I have about 4 or 5 of these. I think one is blue, which I've mostly gone through in my previous daily blue inks. So I have about 4 more of different colors that we're working through. And I have my stack of freshly made swatching cards. I made these during a Buffy the Vampire Slayer marathon, one of the greatest shows on television in my opinion. And of course I have some Q-tips, and I have my trusty glass nib pen with the cap, which I love. And, oh, I'm just screwing it together here. And of course I have some water in my lovely Grateful Meadows mug. And let's get started. So last time we ended with the Aster Kieser-Rott. Let's see, so we were right here. So now today we are going to start with this one. And we will continue on. Oh, and I did want to show one of the cards from last time. This is the Lamy Red. And this color just amazes me. I don't think it's going to show up on the camera very well, but it is like a hot orange pink with that sheen. It is just wild and crazy. So if you like interesting inks, I would highly recommend getting a sample of this Lamy Red, because it is something else, let me tell you. Alrighty. So our first sample today is Lamyrotonite, and I got this from Goulet Pens. And I was thinking about all the samples that I have. I think so far I've been able to do about 10 samples per session. So I figure if I do 10 a week, and I've got somewhere around 200 samples, that it should take me, the rest of my life to get through my samples. No, I'm just kidding. It won't take me that long. But I have several months of Swatching Sundays ahead of me, so I hope you enjoy these as much as I've been enjoying them. And I love to make my cursive L's, you know, like Laverne and Shirley. So this is Lamyrotonite. And this is looking kind of similar to the Lamy Red. I'm telling you, if Lamy just renamed that ink and they didn't call it Lamy Red, I think it would be a bestseller, because it is a wild and crazy ink. Okay, let's see what this one looks like. And I might have to compare the two a little bit, which is always lots of fun. Ooh, this is looking very pink. Wow. Kind of a hot pink. Very interesting. And we're not getting much of a drip there. You know I love my drips. Wow, a double dip and no drip. That's very interesting. Okay, wow. Ooh, there's some sheen popping out on this thing already. My goodness. So that's going to be interesting when it dries. Whoa, can you see that? Wow, look at that sheen already. Usually the sheen doesn't start to come out until it starts drying, but man, it doesn't seem very wet. I'm not getting a drip with the ink, but the sheen is immediate. Whew. Okay, so we're going to set him aside to let him dry. I need to get a cute little sample holder. I keep meaning to go to the hardware store and look at some different bits to see what I can get a vial to fit into. I just haven't done that yet. Okay, so next up we have Diamine Cerise, and this also came from Goulet Pens. I think most of my early samples came from Goulet. They were pretty much the only company that I ordered from in the beginning, and I was a big fan of, oh my goodness, I forgot her name, Boho Berry. I was a big fan of Boho Berry. She kind of got me interested in fountain pens as well as bullet journaling. So she talked a lot about the Goulets and ordering from the Goulets. So that was pretty much the only company I knew of in the beginning until I started looking on my own to see what else I could find. And now, oh my goodness, there are so many places that you can buy fountain pens and fountain pen inks, which is wonderful. I love all the variety, and each company is a little bit different, and they all offer slightly different products. And I just think about all the things that I haven't even discovered yet. So there's always something new around the bend. Ooh, this is another really bright pinkish ink. Wow. Okay, but it already seems much wetter than the Lamy ink. And yep, we're getting a drip right off. I think most of the Diamine inks that I have tried have been kind of a wetter or more flowing, kind of a wetter ink. I'm still not sure about the whole wet ink, dry ink thing. And most of the time, I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. But just based on my drips on the swatch, the Lamy was not dripping and the Diamine did drip. But wow, that Lamy was just popping out with sheen, so very interesting. And I think I might have to compare these two with the Lamy Red when we come to the end, because the comparison is just so much fun. Alright, here is Monteverde Fire Opal. And this is a very interesting looking ink, and this also came from Goulet. So let's see what we got here. Whew. Gotta tip it to get to the ink. And we need a swatch card. So Monteverde Fire Opal, and I think they wrote that as one word, Fire Opal. I do like Monteverde inks. I like Diamine, I like Monteverde. I think I've liked pretty much all the brands I've tried. I'm sure there are still many brands that I haven't tried yet. One I'm really interested in, oh shoot, I closed up the sample. I gotta do my swatch first. My mouth is gonna run away with me again. But one company that I've really been wanting to try is Blackstone. I think they're an Australian company, and a lot of their inks are Australian themed, you know, Australian landmarks and things like that. But the colors seem really beautiful. But it seems like every time I go looking for one of their inks that it's sold out. So I've been trying to get some samples. So if you have tried any Blackstone inks, let me know what you think about them. So, woo, that is a very interesting looking orange. Lots of different things going on in there so far. And of course we are coming closer to fall. Thank goodness, I am so over summer. Of course I'm usually over summer after the first day, but that's just me. Not a big fan of the heat and humidity and the bugs. Oh my gosh, the bugs are terrible around here. Okay, so this is Coveco Caramel Brown, and this came from Ink Journal, and this was in my one and only ink flight that I purchased from Ink Journal. But that Fire Opal, I think, will be a very nice fall color. And at some point, I'm going to do some orange ink swatching. Just do a whole bunch of the orange inks together to kind of compare them. Because I think that would be really fun. The comparison part of all of this is my favorite part by far. So Coveco, and that is Caramel Brown. Well, there's another one of those fun words. Do you say caramel or caramel or caramel? Or do you have a different way that you say it? It's just one of those words that everybody seems to have a different way of pronouncing it, and I think it's kind of a regional thing. It seems like different parts of the country pronounce it different ways. And I know I talk about language a lot, but I just find language and words fascinating. And sometimes I think I should have been a linguist, which would just be super fun. I know I sound like a complete geek, but that's okay. Yes, I do enjoy diagramming sentences. Okay, although I don't think that has much to do with a linguist. That's more of, I don't know, an editor. I used to be an editor many years ago. I quite enjoyed it. Alrighty, whew, wow. This one's just running all over the place. But wow, that is a beautiful dark brown. It's really rich. Very nice. Okay, so we're going to put him aside. Whew. My little Q-tip was trying to escape there, but I think I saved it. I feel like I need to put a drop cloth down underneath me so I don't spill stuff on the rug. And yes, I have spilled some ink on the rug more than once, but thankfully most of the ink I use is water soluble, so it does come out. Just takes a little patience. All right, up next we have Lamy Agate, also from Goulet Pens. And this looks like an interesting lighter gray, like it might have a hint of green in it or something. Very interesting. I've really enjoyed the Lamy crystal inks, and I'm so glad that they branched out into different kinds of inks rather than just their usual standard line. So let me make my fancy L. Lamy Agate. And I don't really know what an agate looks like. I wonder if this is close to the color. Sometimes it doesn't seem like these inks match up with the stones or the jewels that they're named after, but then I go look up the jewel or the stone afterward, and yeah, it looks pretty much like whatever it's named after. Of course, there's many different stones in the world than I've ever heard of, so sometimes there's, different varieties that I don't know about, so the ink might be fashioned after one of the stones that I don't know about. So it's always good to learn new things. Ooh, and again, we are just not dripping. So I'm going to get another little dip here just to make sure. So this makes me wonder, are the crystal inks drier? Have you noticed that the crystal inks are drier? There, we're getting a little bit of a blob. Blobs are okay. Very interesting. Wow. I see a lot of green in there. Can you see that? It's like gray and green. Very interesting. Okay, so we're going to let him dry. I swear, ever since I've been using those multi-shading inks like the Milky Ocean, I just see multiple colors in every ink. And I know they're not like that, but it's just in my head. Okay, so here is Noodlers Black, and this came from Goulet Pens, and this is actually the only sample of Noodlers Black I have. I never got a bottle of it. I got one of those giant bottles of Heart of Darkness, but I was writing in my Hobonichi earlier this year. I was, trying to use the Hobonichi, but I ended up not liking it. And I like to color code things in my planner sometimes, so I wanted to write with a black ink and then highlight in different colors. But I was really disappointed with the Heart of Darkness that it ran, or it smeared every time I used the highlighter with it. No matter how long I let it dry, it would always smear. So then I tried my, which one was it? The Lexington Gray. And that did not smear with the highlighter, but again, I'm just not a huge fan of the gray inks. I want, if I use a dark ink, like a black ink, I just want it to be black, 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 just super black. And the grays, I don't know, if a gray ink is darker, I'd rather just use black, and if a gray ink is lighter, I'd rather have another color with it. So I don't know, I have trouble with the gray ink sometimes. I always feel like there's something missing. Although I hear that Lexington Gray is a beautiful shader, and I haven't really used it enough to say that it would shade, because I was using it in the Hobonichi with a very fine nib, because I was trying to write inside those teeny tiny little grid lines, which I think are like a 3.7 millimeter grid, which is just ridiculously small. And I think when you have a fine nib that can write inside those grid lines, that you're just not going to get any shading. So I think when I did use the Lexington Gray in the Hobonichi, it was just a flat, dark color. So yeah, that is really black. So I got this giant bottle of Heart of Darkness, and then I kind of regretted. I really thought that Heart of Darkness was waterproof, and it is pretty waterproof, but I don't think it's quite as waterproof as Noodlers Black. But since I have a giant bottle of it, I didn't also want to get a bottle of Noodlers Black. And I think this came in one of the sample packs from Goulet. It was like their best sellers or their standard colors or something like that. So I wouldn't normally have ordered a sample of this since I already had that big bottle of Heart of Darkness, but it just came in one of the sample packs, so I have some. And I honestly forgot about it when I was looking for inks for my Hobonichi, so if I had remembered that I had this, then I would have used this in a pen and tried it out. But again, these samples have just been in the cabinet for months or years that I haven't used them, so it's about time I got them out and started trying them. Just think about all the things I've been missing out on since I haven't been trying my samples. Okay, so who else do we have here? Let me see. And I want to make sure that I don't confuse our rows here. There's just so many samples. Okay, this is Urban Bleu Calanque. That is a beautiful name. I'm not sure what that means in French, but I like it. Ooh, there's something on the label there. Okay. Bleu Calanque. That's fun to say. Again, with the words. I love words. They're so much fun. Whatever language they're in, I love them. And I think the only Urban ink I have is Eclat de Saphir. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Eclat de Saphir. And I just haven't gotten around to purchasing any other ones. I think this one, the Bleu Calanque, I think it's part of the same collection, that's part of the same line of Urban inks. And French is a really fun language. I took several years of it in school, but I would certainly not say that I was fluent. More's the pity. Bleu Calanque. Wow, I really like that. That's a nice kind of turquoisey color. Okay. Let's see what our swatch looks like here. But I think these are really gentle, well-behaved inks, and they're fairly affordable. So if I feel the need to add more inks to my collection, I should probably look at some of these inks. Wow, that is really nice. Very pretty. I don't think it's showing up on the camera very well, but it's a very bright turquoise color. And I don't think most of the Urban inks, the standard inks, have any sheen or shimmer or, you know, any kind of fancy properties. And I think the fancy properties are really popular these days, so they're probably kind of overlooked as an ink. And I have to admit, I've kind of overlooked them myself, but that doesn't mean that they're bad inks. They're still really nice inks. All right, this is Monteverde Aeronite, again from Goulet Pens. But it's those classic inks that, you know, that are the real workhorses of the pen world, I think. I'm always talking about Waterman inks. I love Waterman inks. And I feel like they just have a stuffy, boring reputation and people don't want to use them, but I love my Waterman Serenity Blue. I've been using it a ton in my vintage pens, and it is fabulous. And one of these days I'm going to get brave enough to put a different Waterman ink in my pens. Okay, so this is Monteverde Aeronite. that is a bright green. In fact, next month I think I might get really crazy and put a pelican ink in one of my vintage pens. Oh my goodness. Shocking, shocking, I know. But again, pelican inks are supposed to be very gentle for vintage pens, so I'm not getting too crazy. All right, wow. That is a really bright spring green. So pretty. I think this might be kind of hard to write with, you know, just as far as readability, but it is such a pleasant color. Very nice, very, very springy, very Eastery. And of course, I really can't say what it would be like to write with until I actually get it in a pen and write with it, because we all know that inks behave differently with different pens. And this glass nib, it's a good enough example, I think, but the real test is to put it in an actual fountain pen and write with it. All right, man, look at my hands. I'm just getting ink all over myself. All right, here is Diamine Classic Red. All right. I can't say that I have a lot of standard reds. I definitely favor darker reds. And I must have gotten double samples of this, because this vial, I don't know if you can see that, but this vial is much fuller than the standard Goulet vial. They usually only send 2 milliliters, and this is definitely at least 4. So frequently when I see the samples, or when I saw the samples on the Goulet website, I would buy 2 of them and put them together. So then I would have twice as much ink. Twice as much ink to put in the cabinet and not use. But that's all over now. I am using my samples. Classic Red. Well, that is a nice red. I know that Diamine has a ton of blue inks because blue is what I favor, but I bet they have a whole bunch of reds too. So if you're a fan of Diamine reds, which one is your favorite? Have you tried the Classic Red? Do you like the Classic Red? Oh wow, that is very nice. Very different from the Lamy Red. I think this would be more what people are expecting if they order a bottle of red fountain pen ink. Very pretty. Alright, I think we've got time for a few more. Let's see, this is another Urban inked Rouge Opera. And I remember getting this in a sample, one of the mystery sample packs from Goulet. And shame on me, I saw that it was red and I said, I don't like red, I don't want to use this one. So again, it's just been sitting by the wayside, waiting for me to do something with it. And I think I got too much ink on the glass nib here. Goodness. All right. Our Bun Rouge Opera. I have the worst time making E's. Opera. And this is another bright red. We'll have to see how this one compares with the Classic Red that we just did. It's been a while since I've ordered one of those mystery packs, mystery samples, because I feel like I have so many samples at this point that I would probably just get duplicates of some ink, and I just need to be using up my inks. I buy the inks to enjoy them, so it's time I start doing that. Wow, that's really nice. That looks like it might have some shading to it. Very pretty. But definitely pinker, I think, than the Classic Red. We'll have to see what these look like when they dry. All right. Well, I think we've made it to our standard 10, but I'm not rambling quite so much today, so I think we might be able to get through a few more. All right, this is Diamine Carnival. And this again is looking kind of red, but maybe a little bit more orangey. So let's see. Whoops, whoa. That almost escaped from the vial. All right, Diamine Carnival. I wonder if this is carnival like, you know, a street carnival, or carnival like Mardi Gras carnival. All right. This is looking much, I don't know, browner? Kind of a dark orangey brown. Ooh. Isn't that interesting? Yep, yeah, this is more like the kind of red that I would like, I think. Kind of a darker red, more brick red or maroonish red. That's very pretty. Okay, let's do one more. And let me see. All right, this is Monteverde Ruby. Gosh, I've done so many of these Monteverde gemstone inks. I was thinking I had already swatched this one before, but I didn't. I think that was Topaz I was thinking about. Okay. So, ooh, and this was the last card that I had set out, so perfect timing. Ooh, let's see if we can get that down in there. Come here, ink. Monteverde Ruby. I know several people named Ruby. I think that's a pretty name. And for our final swatch of the day, let's see. Oh, I don't think I got enough ink on there. Now I think of Ruby as more of a kind of a pinkish magenta leaning kind of red, but this is looking very orange. Not that I have any experience with actual gemstones. I've never seen a ruby in person, so I don't know what a real ruby looks like. But this isn't the color that I'm expecting. Alrighty, we got a little bit of a drip there, kind of a blob. Ooh, strange. It is looking very orange. Alrighty, well, I am going to let these dry a little bit and straighten up my work area a little bit, and I will come back in a little while and we will see what we ended up with. So hold on, I'll be right back. Alright, so I am back, and it looks like the swatch cards are just about dry. So let's see what we've got here. Here is Lamyrotonite, and this was the one with all of that crazy sheen. Now I'm not seeing too much sheen on this dried card though. There's a little bit, but it seemed to sheen more when it was wet, which seems backwards. Usually they sheen more after they're dry. But that's very, very pink looking. Next we have Diamine Cerise. And wow, that is a super bright ink. I was thinking that this Lamy ink was a bright pink, but that Cerise, whew, that is a hot pink. And it does have a little hint of shimmer right around the edge here. I mean, not shimmer, sheen. It has a little hint of sheen. Whew, hot pink, hot pink. Here is Monteverde Fire Opal. And that's a beautiful dark orange. It looks like it might have some nice shading to it too. There's a little bit of something going on there. That might have a little bit of sheen. Some like darker brownish sheen maybe. All right, here is Coveco Caramel Brown. And that came out really dark. But that's pretty. It's a pretty brown. Interesting to see it next to the Fire Opal, which is kind of a brownish orange. And then this is just straight brown with not a whole lot of orange to it. And here is Lamy Agate. That's that really pretty kind of greenish gray color. That's very interesting. I see some interesting shading going on there maybe. Let's see. Oop, I'm going to scoot everybody down a little bit just to make sure we have enough room. And here is Noodlers Black. And he's still drying just a little bit right there. But that is definitely black, 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 which is a good thing. Sometimes you get a black ink. Well, I know when I have swatched other black inks, they end up looking kind of gray on the swatch card. But this is definitely black. Was just thinking I might have to get a bottle of this someday, but I don't. I have a giant bottle of Heart of Darkness. I do not need to get a bottle of Noodlers Black. Repeat after me. I do not need to get a bottle of Noodlers Black. All right, here is the Bleu Calanque. That is so pretty. Such a beautiful turquoise color. I like that so much. Ooh, I just want to compare all of these. I want to compare this to Navajo Turquoise and Konpeki and see what it looks like. So pretty. Of course, I'm a sucker for any kind of blue. You know me, I love the blue. Here is Monteverde Aeronite. It's a very pretty light green, but again, I think it might be a little bit too light for writing. I guess unless you used it in a broad nib or a stub nib, that might get enough ink flow for you to be able to read it well. All right, here is Diamine Classic Red. Very pretty. Oh, and where's that? I wanted to compare that with the Lamy Red. Wow. Yeah. Here's one manufacturer's red, and here's another manufacturer's red, and boy, are they different. But if we've got the cerise here, and we compare them, whew, they are both super bright colors. But this is a little more kind of a coral, orangey looking color, and this is just hot pink. But they're kind of, I think they're kind of related to each other. They're both really bright colors, bright saturated colors. Oh, nope, I'm putting that away. All right, so there's the classic red. Here is the Bun Rouge Opera. Kind of a nice burgundy color, but definitely much less saturated. And this is kind of how I think of the Urban colors. They seem a little bit less saturated to me, which might be why I'm not as attracted to them. But the Bleu Calanque, that is definitely a brighter color than what I'm used to seeing with the Urban inks. So this one might go on my wish list, just maybe. Very pretty. So this is a nice color, but I don't know about writing with it. I don't know if I would enjoy that or not. All right, and who do we have left? Here is Diamine Carnival. Again, a darker red. Now here it is next to Classic Red. I think this one's a bit more saturated. This is kind of a darker, more maroon looking color. A little more brown in the red. Very nice. So if I had to pick one, I would probably pick the Classic Red. But Carnival is very nice. It's just a darker kind of red. All right, and finally we have Monteverde Ruby, which is looking really orange. I would not think of that as ruby at all. So again, I have not seen the rubies in person, so I'm just not sure. But actually, this is looking kind of like the Fire Opal. Wow. Don't they look similar? This one's a bit darker, but they're both definitely orangey. Interesting. And a little bit of sheen going on there. Alrighty. Well, those are our swatches for today. A very interesting cross-section of inks we have. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.